Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our handle is CriticsPod. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers, and then check us out on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click on the little bell up in the right-hand corner. I know they always point to it when you watch YouTube videos. I don't know where it's at because I don't watch my own YouTube videos. I should have my son come and help me with this someday. But if you subscribe there and get the notification, you'll be able to see us live, which is usually Monday nights, and probably in the summer, fall, be back to Sunday mornings, or depending on if Sean's schedule changes. But yeah, that's where you can see us and listen to us. And then there's patreon.com/criticspod. The best way to help support the podcast. We're probably going to have more variety on that channel, more than just movies. One, it'll be easier for me, if I'm being completely honest. My work schedule has been a bit of a bitch, and I'm fully vaccinated now, and I don't know when I'm going to get back to the theater. It's like it's going to have to be a big event. So I don't know. Even hanging out with people is, I mean, we haven't seen each other. Well, we've seen each other once in person since the pandemic. That's when my wife punctured your new sofa. Sorry about that, by the way.
It's fine.
But yeah, otherwise it's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be weird going back out. Like, I haven't hugged anybody besides my wife. I'm worried that I'll like accidentally touch somebody else's ass next time I hug them or something like that.
Because that's the go-to when you hug the wife, is get right to the ass.
Not every time, but enough times. And I don't want to get slapped.
And canceled.
I mean, this is totally unrelated, and I was at a concert once, and I'm just watching the show, and all of a sudden I look down, and out of my peripheral vision, I see this hand come up by my side, and it reaches up and grabs the girl's ass in front of me. She turns around and looks at me, and I'm like, I swear to God, I did not do that. Luckily, her friend was behind me.
Oh, God.
And he jumped up and was like, it was me. But it was one of the most terrifying. I mean, there's no horror movie that could capture the level of fear I felt in that moment.
Maybe a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. Other than that.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a George Costanza, Larry David type thing in order to.
Yeah.
It was so weird. Anyway, let's get to our show. We got a handful of new movies, and how do I share a screen? I always have to remember how to do this. We'll lead with the instant Netflix classic, Thunder Force.
Fuck you. Thunder Force. Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer star in a movie set in a universe where something occurred that led to certain people developing superpowers. These certain people happen to be sociopaths who then tended to go on criminal lives of crime. They call them miscreants in this universe, and they're responsible for killing Octavia Spencer's character's parents when she was very young, even before she'd met Melissa McCarthy's character. They meet, they become friends, but then they fall apart because Octavia Spencer is just spending all her time studying, trying to figure out how to beat the miscreants, how to create superpowers in regular people so that they can fight back. And years later, of course, she accomplishes this, and Melissa McCarthy shows up. She's a kind of a schlubby loser, and she gets in the way of the experiment and becomes superpowered, and Octavia Spencer becomes superpowered, and they start fighting back. And man, I didn't fucking care at all. I I've tried very hard with Ben Falcone as a director. Very, very hard. I liked Life of the Party. That's how much I've tried with Ben McCarthy, or with Ben Falcone, who was Melissa McCarthy's husband. But each time he gets worse as a director. He's not improving, he's getting worse. And it's because it seems like he's learning all of the wrong lessons each time out. He's learning all the wrong lessons about, let's just rely on the same jokes over and over again, delivered in the exact same way with no variation. He's doing a variation on the kind of humor that we've seen Melissa McCarthy do so much that even I, a Melissa McCarthy super fan, have finally grown tired of it, to the point where I just want to strangle him and say, just let her do something else, man. You're her husband, and she wants to help your career, but you're dragging her down to your level. She's not raising you up to hers. He's not improving. He's getting all the wrong lessons. He's just going for the cheapest, easiest stuff constantly. And it's the same type of joke all over and over and over again. This cringe joke where somebody says something, nobody laughs, and we're supposed to laugh because it's cringy, but we're also kind of like, okay, how long is this going to go on? And then she just stands there for a second, and then it tries to explain that this is the actual thing that I was saying, but it's still worse because it's getting funnier, right? Because the longer I linger on the subject and the cringier it gets, the funnier it gets, right? Good fucking God. Maybe in 2010, yes, that was still working. That was still a working joke. It's not a working joke anymore. Move on. Find a new one. Doesn't work. Octavia Spencer, she's fine. She's pretty boring in this. Movies have found a way to take what spirit she's had in films in the past, and in the past 3 years just kind of suck that right out of her, because she's lost any kind of personality anymore, it would seem. And that's really what Thunder Force is.
It reminds me of you do this on occasion, and I saw Uncle Jeff do it as well as a critic on his blog, where you'll be like, if you've never seen a movie, you might like this one. It's like there's like a dig. His was like really rude too. It was like Gone Baby Gone. He's like, well, if you like Law and Order, you might like this movie. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Wow.
Don't lower Gone Baby Gone to Law and Order.
Love that movie.
I know, but it's still. I've always enjoyed when that little dig is used, and this is how this movie works. You got to be I mean, we're jaded. You're more so probably than me, because you see way too many movies.
Yeah,
and to me, this isn't worth hating, because it's not. I get what they're doing. It's weird that it's Ben Falcone every time. At least Adam Sandler is like Stephen Brill and a couple other guys. It's not the same ones every time. I mean, it's a collection of the same ones, I suppose. But it's weird. Like, you get the good Melissa McCarthy movie, and then the one he does, which is
it's starting to get that way. It really is.
Yeah, and I mean, and she's good at this stuff, but like you said, it's the same thing she's been doing for 10 years. Mm-hmm. That, having seen it every year, multiple times a year, it's less funny for me. So where it gets me is the references to like Van Halen and Slayer, and the stupid song at the end, which is goofy and fun, but it's like a super group of like members of Anthrax and Slipknot and Hailstorm and Slayer. Mm-hmm. And so it's those little things that get me in enough to not care. I don't laugh. I mean, I hate saying it's not funny, because it's not. I don't think that's fair criticism. It's just, I've heard the joke enough times that it's not funny for me anymore. Mm-hmm. Clearly they're having a good time. Not good enough that it translates to probably you or I, who are more jaded at these kind of movies. Every now and then something that's bad can be so bad that it's like, there's laugh at it bad, but then there's the fun that the director and the cast and everybody are having actually comes through the screen, and you're in on it too. And it's, sometimes that works. That's not the case here.
No.
I mean, it's a fine Netflix movie for that type of audience who's going to like it. But it's not worth it. I don't know. It's And it's another one of those things. Someone like with Octavia Spencer reminds me of like Hilary Swank when she gets a little bit of success. Then the movie, you try to be successful with the critical success, trying to blend the two. Ben Affleck had that problem where you just, do you chase the box office or do you chase the critical acclaim? And yeah, she's had a kind of a bad luck critically. I don't know about the box office. It's hard to judge the last year or so, but
yeah. I just what worked about this? What anything worked about this? I mean, they kept going back to this one joke about raw chicken, about how Melissa McCarthy's character craves raw chicken, and just so happens that the love interest character, who has crab arms, played by Jason Bateman, also loves raw chicken. So we're going to do that joke again about the eating raw chicken, and I'm going to feed you raw chicken, and you feed me raw chicken, and it's really weird and awkward, and nobody's laughing. And why don't they see how they've done this so many times? Why can I see it in watching their movies and seeing the same jokes all over the same time, and they don't see it?
Probably because they have yes people around them.
Probably.
And I mean, I can definitely tell you that if I'd watched it alone versus with my family, I'd have liked it way less. I still don't like it. Don't get me wrong. This is not a good movie. It's again, it's the what works for me, like I said, is the Slayer and Van Halen references, which are not even integral to the part or the movie. It's the cringe humor, though, when you have the audience around y'all reacting, and I mean, for the most part, if it's a theater, it's probably going to annoy me more that they're laughing at it than
the raw chicken joke. It becomes.
It's gross.
The thing about it is that it's gross, right? It's gross the first time. Then every other time you're wondering to yourself, well, how did they do that? What did they do to create raw chicken that she could actually consume safely? And what was it? And while you're thinking about that, there's a movie going on. And this is what you've done to your audience. You've left them going, I wonder what they did. What did they make the raw chicken out of to make it so she could actually eat it? Because obviously you can't eat raw chicken safely as a human being and not get sick. I think we're all aware of that. So while I'm sitting here doing the mechanics, there's still a movie going on. And that should not be my experience of your movie, is me wondering, I wonder how they did the raw chicken thing.
I definitely had that thought. Like, what did she have to put in her mouth?
Right?
I hope it tasted good. But I think that a lot whenever something goes in somebody's mouth, especially vomit stuff. Because I've done the fake blood thing before. That's essentially just chocolate syrup.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, but tastes okay. But we spent a lot of time on this movie that I probably won't talk about ever again.
It's gonna be fighting to avoid the 10 worst of the year this year.
Really?
Oh yeah.
See, to me, it's too non-important to be on any. It's like Nickelback. Like, who cares? But
they picked the wrong week to give me a miserable movie.
Fair enough. Thank God Nickelback didn't release an album. All right, what else do we got here? The Tunnel.
The Tunnel stars Torbjorn Har as a fireman who first responder, I guess, in Norway. Norway, of course, is well above sea level. They've got these gigantic mountain ranges, and in order to get around the country, they had to cut these amazing, like 3 to 5 mile tunnels into these mountains. So they're very difficult to build. They're very difficult to maintain, and they can be kind of scary to get through. A 5 mile tunnel under mountains that are shifting via avalanches. You've got storms all the time. You get very harsh winters in Norway, and so what you have here then is this story about this one tunnel that is one of the last tunnels before Christmas that hasn't been closed by this storm that's coming in. And it's kind of a controversial notion that they've decided to keep this one open for one last run of cars to get through. And nobody's like going, oh, you're going to kill people if you don't shut it. But like, they're like, are you sure you want to do it? All right, okay, yeah, we'll do one more run, let people through. Well, unfortunately, one of the first cars through is a gas truck, and the gas truck has this accident that is kind of unpredictable, where something happens and it just causes him to swerve, and he loses control and he hits the wall and starts blocking traffic. But worse yet, there's gas dripping out of the truck and a giant explosion about to take place, which is going to fill the tunnel with black smoke. And there's the way to filter it is not going to work very quickly. So basically, you're looking at a lot of people trapped 3 to 5 miles inside of a tunnel with covered in black smoke, and trying to figure out, how to get out of here without being able to see and barely being able to breathe. Throw into that the fact that Har's character, he had a fight with his daughter that day, and she's decided to hop a bus to grandma's house on the opposite side of the mountain, and he doesn't know that. So she's now trapped in the tunnel as well. And now he wants to really get in there and save her, as well as trying to save as many people as possible. While at the same time, there's just not enough equipment. His side is not necessarily the side that's supposed to handle this. The other side has more of the fire equipment that can do this, but they're blocked in by an avalanche that they're trying to clear. So they've got to get there from their way, but after they clear the avalanche. So there's a lot of stuff at play here. And there's a lot of really clever stuff that they do in this movie, talking about the various ways that you can try to keep air circulating in a car, the various different ways you can try to cover your face and make them run for it, trying to drive through black smoke. Or there's a little access tunnel in there where the workers go in the middle of the tunnel that you can maybe hide in for a while, but that's going to fill with black smoke eventually. Lots of really clever things happening here. This is a really smart movie, a very tense movie, and I think part of the reason I find it so thrilling is that I know I would not survive this movie. With my asthma, I got about 5 seconds of stepping out of whatever vehicle I'm in and done. So that kind of added a little something for me on this, but I really enjoyed this movie.
Why wasn't Daylight our classic?
Fuck you. So I'm never watching Daylight again.
Another movie I defended really hard growing up. This sounds phenomenal. It seems like one of those super intense movies like Speed, or even like Phone Booth, or something where it's just kind of contained to I don't know. It sounds really neat. I did not get a chance to see it. Where is it available right now?
It's available everywhere.
It's to rent.
It's available anywhere where you can get a streaming rental. So yeah, I recommend it. If you like a good action movie that's got some strong, melodramatic underpinnings, this is a really good one.
How was the camera work with black smoke everywhere?
It was pretty great.
Really?
It was pretty great. They really made you feel like, I kind of felt like I was having trouble breathing watching it. So that's how much that's how really well they captured that.
Could you see anything?
Well, yeah. It's a movie. They made sure you can see everything.
I'm just kidding. It'd be great, though, if you're like the 4D movies, they just start shooting black smoke into the theater.
Oh, God, no. Kill half the audience.
Horrible idea. All right. Let's see. Hollow Point.
Hollow Point stars a guy who's not on the poster. It's directed by Daniel Zarelli and starring Dylan Jay. He's a ethics professor who we meet him when he's teaching ethics, and he's about to meet up with his wife and daughter, who are then they get lost in another neighborhood in Los Angeles, and they end up getting killed by a drug dealer played by Jay Moore, who just executes them because they happen to witness a drug deal / murder. Delonge tries to go after him himself, but fails, ends up going to jail. He meets up with Luke Goss, who starts teaching him how to defend himself. And from there, Goss introduces him to Michael Paré and Juju Chan, who each operate this group that's kind of police but not police, where they go for vengeance and try and work outside the law to kill drug dealers. This isn't a great movie, but in terms of just being a throwback action movie, an R-rated action movie, if you loved the Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff, or you like the Steven Seagal movie we're going to talk about 91. This is that movie. I mean, Luke Goss is essentially playing Steven Seagal. Seagal would play this character. This is like a rejected Seagal script, but it's actually improved by not having Seagal in it, because Luke Goss is actually kind of good. He's actually kind of invested, and he's in shape and young enough that you buy what he's doing in the movie. So that kind of sells a little more. And Delange is, not a typical leading man. He doesn't have typical leading man stuff, but what he has is kind of a passionate sort of determination and kind of an innate, handsome career.
Sean is paused. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, Delange. There, is he back?
What just happened?
Yeah, you disappeared there for a little bit. So,
I didn't touch anything.
I think there was a freezing at some point on some level. So Delange is, it was great. Like the charismatic lead who's not on the poster.
Actually, he is.
Oh, yes. Which one is he?
He's the one next to Juju Chan.
Which one's Juju Chan?
She's the one next to Luke Goss.
Where's Jay Moore? He's the only one I know.
You don't recognize Michael Paré? Come on.
I don't even know. I'm sure I've heard the name before. I'm not Josh. I don't know every character actor that ever worked.
Bottom line is, it's not a great movie, but like as a throwback for action fans, this is a movie that you can throw on Netflix on a Saturday night, and you're not going to have to think too much. You're just going to watch some guys shoot each other and beat each other up and do it well. And at the very least, they're not reinventing the wheel. They're doing what's been done before. They're just doing it a little bit better with a little bit more talent.
Held.
I'm going to spoil the crap out of this movie because I hate it so much. Held, and I don't do that, but this movie pissed me off. I'm kidding. Held is not a great movie. This is a story of a woman who, when we meet her, she is the subject of essentially what we believe to be a gang rape, which is a pretty horrible way to begin. And it sets you up with this character who's, not somebody who's in a great mental state throughout. So, she's got troubles in her past. We cut to like 20 years in the future. She's married now. She's a writer. She's going out to this house in, I'm not sure where exactly it is, but it's in the middle of nowhere, where she and her husband are going to spend the weekend together just by themselves to celebrate their 9th anniversary. He arrives, they're settling in, and then they find that they're being held captive by the house. There's somebody inside the house who has used the future tech of the house to take them prisoner, and he's going to teach them how to obey and be a proper husband and wife, because this bad guy knows everything about them. He's learned everything about their lives. He's learned about the fact that she's been cheating on him. And he knows all of his secrets and threatens to, and he's using those secrets to kind of push them together and try and make them stay married, which is kind of an odd thing, right? That's weird. Well, no, it's not. It's very obvious what's happening here. The husband's behind it all. It was they don't do very well to hide that. They don't do anything very well in this movie, though, to be clear. This movie is such garbage. I'm trying not to be, I've already said too many mean things. The bottom line is here. So the notion, what we're getting at here is that the husband did this. This is all a setup by a secret cabal of men, powerful men who've created this training for women. So women get out of line, their wives get out of line, so they take them to this house. This guy tortures them for the weekend into being the perfect husband and wife, because that's the way that patriarchy is supposed to be. The wife is subjugated to the husband. He's in charge. He does everything. She listens and is an obedient, and this will teach her how to be obedient by being held in this place. And of course, he's the one who orchestrated this because he knows his wife has been cheating on him and he wants to teach her to be obedient. The best thing about this movie is her dress. Like, main character's dress has pockets, which is, if you don't know this, Bob, women have been asking for years why dresses don't have pockets. And it is a strange thing. Like, why don't dresses have pockets? Why shouldn't a woman have pockets? Well, this movie, the dress has pockets, and she uses that pocket to hide a weapon that she uses to kill a guy and get out of this situation. So good for her. That's the best thing about this otherwise utterly stupid movie.
But that seems a little too convenient, too.
What, that her dress has pockets?
Just so the plot can move forward. I mean, my wife hates pockets. She hates carrying shit. So that means I have to do it. So maybe I need to find some men to get her to be obedient.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just kidding. She does hate pockets, though.
You know what? Eli Roth could have made a good version of this. He really could have.
Like a good version of this, or
an Eli Roth version of this. Okay. One that at least would be memorably shitty as opposed to just being shitty.
Yeah. At first, I was like, did they walk around a mall and find out all their secrets about each other? Like Woody Allen and Bette Midler did?
Oh, if they could transpose those characters into this movie, that would be great.
This sounds terrible.
It's really bad. It's so heavy-handed and so obvious. And I get, the whole smash the patriarchy thing. I get, the intended critique of masculinity. Like, I understand what they're going for and how insecure these men are, that they feel the need to torture women into obeying them. I get it. And that's certainly a realistic extrapolation of the patriarchal view of society and that 50s point of view of society. I get it, but this is so heavy-handed and so poorly paced and put together that you overrode your point. You destroyed your entire point by making it too stupid.
Yeah, it would have almost been better if it was made when that was even a bigger problem, like you said, in the 50s. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a problem now, but if it was like as bad as it was back then, I think that is a better chance of pulling something like that off than something.
It's like pandering. It's really pandering. Right. Like, women, you're always so much smarter than us. Ladies, am I right, ladies? You're always so much smarter than us, which may be true in many cases. But I mean, to just put it that way, like you're a comedian on stage looking for, it's not a good point. You've not made a good point. You've not actually done anything.
You might as well make a Tim Allen comedy on TV. Where the guy is just dumb the whole time. Which is odd, because that's the audience that this movie needs to reach. But they don't know it. All right. Giants.
They're going to be like watching this movie going, the wrong side won.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely happen. Giants Being Lonely.
Giants Being Lonely is an incredible film by a director by the name of Greer Patterson. And this is a story about a Southern baseball team, North Carolina. There's one kid who's just a really great baseball player. He's a really terrific pitcher, and beloved in the town, but he's, kind of himself. He's not interested in the trappings of being popular. He's very much himself, and he's just busy pining for this girl and spending his time, being kind of near or adjacent to where she is. And he's just kind of floating through life, and you're just kind of mesmerized by the way that his story is unfolding, and you're just kind of carrying along. Meanwhile, there's this other kid on the team who is the coach's son, and he's just going through hell on a daily basis. His father is this tyrant who is seemingly unspokenly upset that his son isn't the best player on the team, that his son isn't this guy, this really great player. He's just kind of average, and he can't accept that. So there's a lot of tension there. The father is very bullying. He's very domineering. You can see that he's probably the same way towards his wife. We get a lot of that tension between the coach and his wife and his son during these very tense dinner scenes where you can sense that the father is perhaps incredibly abusive, even though we're not necessarily seeing that abuse enacted. He's a really awful guy. And so you've got these 2-track stories, and what you're thinking throughout is that these 2-track stories are going to collide into something. And eventually they kind of do. But where this movie goes is so much more interesting and so much more fascinating the way they do it, because nothing is presented to you through exposition. There's no exposition dialogue. There's no dumping of exposition. There's no telling you what anybody is thinking. There's no unnecessary information communicated. There's no you and I know each other, and I don't say to you, well, Bob, your job as an accountant, how is it being an accountant today? Like, to tell the audience, I need to tell the audience that Bob is an accountant. So how do I do that? By asking about accounting.
Right.
Like, nobody talks like that. And Giants Being Lonely is a movie that kind of recognizes that you don't have to have endless amounts of dialogue to communicate what people are thinking and feeling. And we just get to watch it play out. And it's sweaty and it's weird and it's sexual. Like the main character, the really great player, he's somebody who kind of expresses himself via sexuality and kind of searching for something that means something to him via sexuality. And he gets involved in a very dangerous affair, if you will, that nobody really talks about. And there's no real presentation of it as being dangerous. But you can sense this is a really bad idea. What he's doing and what she's doing is a very bad idea. We all know it, but they're doing it because they kind of need something to do. They're kind of bored, and it's hot, and there's not much else to do in this town. You can go roller skating, or you can fuck. Those are your options. Pick one. You can walk around all night. Whatever, It's just such a wonderfully, beautifully detailed version of a real life and 2 real lives that are happening and coming together. And then that ending arrives, and you're just I was left floored. I could not believe that the movie went to where it went to, just in a visual sense, because I could sense where the idea was heading. I could sense what the thing was going to be. But in another movie, you're looking for the ways in which the good character, the gallant to Goofus, you're looking for when they're going to come together and smash into each other, and that's going to be the big confrontation. There's no big confrontation between them. They have interactions, and there are elements. There's this brilliant sequence where he doses it, where the kid, the coach's son, doses the great player, and the great player goes out and throws the best game of his life on the mound. And that is such a great scene. It is played brilliantly. I've never seen anybody communicate what it's like to be completely stoned on your mind and still be able to be so physically capable. It is so amazing. I was thinking, was it the legendary Boston Red Sox story? Was it Louis Tiant?
I know you're talking about.
I can't remember the pitcher, but the story goes that he was on LSD and he went out and threw a no-hitter, I think it was.
Yeah, I've heard that before. It's weird.
That's kind of, they play that scene out here in a similar fashion, but he doesn't know that he's been dosed, and it's a very interesting scene, and the whole way that sequence plays out is fantastic. And I love this movie so much. This is my favorite thing I've seen in a very long time. I love H is for Happiness. It's always going to be my number one top. And I love I Blame Society. This year is another one that has really been my favorite so far this year. But this movie moved me in a way that I was so not expecting. And then that gut punch at the end, that visual, just blows your fucking mind. And it blew mine. And I just couldn't. I was like, wow. Great choice. This is a fucking phenomenal choice to end that way. It's this movie is superb. Everybody needs to see this.
Yeah, you told me not to read anything about it before I went and saw it. Then you proceeded to call it like the male version of Virgin Suicides. Some critic had said that or something along the lines. Yeah. So immediately I have an idea where it's going. That said, I don't know. Like you said, there's two characters that appear to be like they're going to crash. And there's part of me that's frustrated that they don't, and that I'm being distracted by one, waiting for it. On the other hand, and then when you go to that big reveal, I'm thinking something else happened based on what you said it was like, the Virgin Suicides, and it's not something else besides what I was thinking happened. I mean, I was expecting a gut punch either way. It was just like a different side of the gut got punched. And then you throw the visual on top of it. The visual was just, I don't even know what the word is. I don't want to say horrifying, but maybe that, it's like, whoa.
It takes your breath away. It takes your breath away when you see it.
Yeah, it's like one of those, if you try to describe it, it's like you would keep building it up a little bit more. Like, well, this happened, and there was that too. And then, so it's just like there's a little bit more and more and more to it the more you think about it. And then as I got away from it, I started to enjoy the fact that it bugged me that I was distracted by the two stories not colliding. That made it more fun. And then you start thinking of other movies that it's like. Richard Linklater could have made, a lot of the way they talk is very much a Dazed and Confused or a Everybody Wants Some type of movie where they talk like human beings and not like people in a movie. Last Picture Show, there's a little bit of that in here too. Then you throw in the Virgin Suicides, and I'm sure you could even go deeper than that. That's just off the cuff. And it definitely deserves to be talked in the same breath as all of those. I don't know this director, but I think they're going to be around for a while if they keep doing movies like this. It definitely reminds me of Linklater a lot. And I could see that. And I think that's, and like the good Linklater, not the, which I don't want to call him bad. It's just like he goes and does the studio thing.
Yeah.
And those are fine. But this is definitely one of his, is something, like I said, Dazed and Confused, Everybody Wants something like that. It's, watching the trailer, I thought it was just going to be a movie about toxic masculinity. And that's in it, but it's not what it's about. It's just, it's a slice of life, and with a gut punch ending. I don't even know what to say.
It's just it's a special movie to me. Like it's just so smart and so incredibly well made. And the acting is just so subtle. Everything about it is just incredibly subtle. And I just adore that you have so much subtlety and you have so much that they're holding back, really. And then they let loose, and it's one frame. It's like it's there long enough for you to register what you're looking at, and it's gone. But wow, while it's there, just man, what a bold goddamn choice. Just the absolute complete bold choice to make in that moment.
Yeah, you're right. That is definitely the picture's worth 1,000 words kind of a. More so than any other movie, because you could watch everything up until that point, and then if you had to describe it, you couldn't do it. I don't know. It would just be so hard to. It really was impressive, and it starts off. It's one of those movies where early on you're kind of like, well, what am I watching? What's going on? Which one is this? Which long-haired kid is this?
Right.
I definitely was confusing them early on, and then eventually they start to get established as who they are. Pretty early on, but there's just a lot of figuring out what you're watching, and it starts to take shape, and then I don't know, it's definitely a really, really neat movie. I would everybody to like a movie like this. I don't think it's for everybody.
It's maybe, that's true. Gotta shout out the soundtrack. The choice of Lou Reed is just fucking brilliant. I mean, Coney Island Baby plays over the end credits, and it's just he's talking about playing for the coach in the song, which could be very on the nose, but the way that Lou Reed is doing it, it's as if Lou Reed were one of these characters, and that is such a spectacular way to present this, and the way it's presented is just, it's so beautiful. I can't get over how much I'm trying to find a quote that I wanted to share, because there's the title. I wanted to explain the title. Carl Sandburg is a legendary poet who this title comes from him. The title is from a poem. It's basically, sometimes old men sitting near the exits of life say, there were giants in those days. They wanted stones to sit on, stones to throw at each other, great stones for companions, for loneliness, all giants being lonely. That is the quote. But yet another rather incredible quote that actually works with this movie as well, which is it's from I believe it's from the same poem. The worst feeling isn't being lonely, but being forgotten by someone you can't forget. Which is what's, that's the fear that one of our characters is carrying, because he's pining for that girl who's been, was his girlfriend and now isn't, that he would like to have back. But also for the son, for the father, it applies to so many different characters in this movie, because you've got people living through other people, and it just, wow, what an amazing movie, and it just gets better the further you get away from it.
Yeah, and the more you talk about it, too, because it's like the more interesting character, what you would think would be the more interesting character, it is, the guy the other one. And it just, I don't know, it's cool how they, I don't want to say too much, because I do think there is something to getting to that end.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil what it is. You're building it up in your head. You're still not going to be prepared for it.
It's going to come at you in a different way. I mean, even if you get some of it right, you're still going to miss other parts. I mean, it's a very layered thing. I don't know. There's just a lot that happens there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's definitely worth seeing, and it's someone that you talk about, and it gets better as you talk about it, and that's kind of what's been missing lately from the podcast.
This will be around at the end of this year for sure for me.
For sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anything else on Giants Being Lonely? It is available to rent right now.
I'm begging you to watch this. I'm looking through the camera right now at the audience on YouTube, and to the microphone for you folks listening. Just see this movie. See it.
After we see Thunder Force.
Please don't watch Thunder Force.
I know one's free and one's not, but it's worth the money. It's not free. You're paying for the monthly, whatever. It definitely is a fantastic movie. It's just unique and worth watching. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
We've talked about a lot of baseball movies, and I've always been trying to find a way to make this the classics. I've never seen it. I've always wanted a reason to see it, because it's Robert De Niro and it's a baseball movie. But at the same time, when you look at the best baseball movies of all time, this is rarely ever mentioned in that list.
For good reason.
Bang the Drum Slowly.
Yeah, we're looking at in the YouTube. We've got the picture up here of the DVD cover, and that DVD cover is a lie. Robert De Niro is not the star of this movie. Nope. Michael Moriarty is the star of this movie. Milquetoast, supremely boring Michael Moriarty of Law and Order fame is the star of this movie. Not Robert De Niro. And thank God, because had Robert De Niro been in any more of this movie than he is in, he would have destroyed his entire career, because it's the worst goddamn performance of the entirety of Robert De Niro's career. And I include Righteous Kill in that. I include Righteous Kill and Bad Grandpa. This is awful. The first thing you see of De Niro's character is some of the worst acting ever. It's so bad. It reminded me again. I've mentioned it. I think I mentioned it just last week. I talk about it a lot, about Nathan Rabin's fantastic quote about it's not acting, it's the most acting. That's what gets noticed, is the most acting. And by volume, there is so much acting going on. De Niro might as well just grab you by the shoulders and say, hey, look how dumb my character is. He's a really dumb guy, you see? That's why I talk like this, because I'm super dumb. I'm also from the South, but I sound like I'm from the Bronx. I don't know. I hate this movie. I hated it so much. And I know you're going to tell me that I'm overreacting, but I just was miserable watching this movie. The story goes that this kid, the character played by De Niro, is not a very good catcher who's about to lose his job for the New York Yankees, but he's also dying of Hodgkin's lymphoma. And his buddy, Michael Moriarty, is the best pitcher on the Yankees, and it is part of his contract negotiations. He gets them to keep De Niro, but he's trying not to tell anybody that De Niro's character is dying. So he's coming up with all these various different things. Meanwhile, Vincent Gardenia plays the Yankees manager, who is just fucking Columbo for some fucking reason, just wants to know, why were you in Minnesota? What were you doing in Georgia? Why are you back in New York now? We're in Florida. What's going on? I'm going to hire a private detective. Why? What does it matter? Why do you care? Why does it matter in any possible way? They never establish any good reason why it matters that Vincent Gardenia needs to know where they were during the offseason. It means nothing. Nothing. In the end, even trying to keep it a secret is stupid. He gives up the secret, and that's what unites the Yankees. Oh, I'm sorry, not the Yankees. What are they? The fucking Mastodons? Whatever the fuck they are. The Mammoths. Why? They're playing in Yankee Stadium. They're wearing Yankees colors. They're wearing the stripes. They've got the approval of Major League Baseball, and they still don't use the Yankee name. Why? It's so stupid. I hate this movie, Bob. I hate it.
In fairness, we would never have watched this movie if De Niro wasn't in it. That is the only reason that this even gets mentioned ever on a list of baseball movies. This came out before Mean Streets, before Godfather 2, before Taxi Driver. This is very, very early De Niro. I watched it on my phone while I was doing other things, so I didn't pick up on the overacting as much. I mean, I definitely noticed he was playing a dumb guy because he let me know.
He let you know.
But
he tapped down the shoulder a couple guys. See how stupid I am? Look how stupid my character is. I'm really dumb.
But I was able to be distracted enough from it to not have it to beat me over the head with it. More than any, I mean, it's just like when anybody becomes famous, all of a sudden Walmart, at least back when we were younger, Walmart would have all their back catalog would pop up on the shelves.
And suddenly they're on the DVD cover, even though they're not the star of the movie.
Like I remember when Friends came out, like everything Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston, Leprechaun 3 or whatever.
Suddenly, yeah, she's at the front of the DVD cover.
Yeah, all of them have just all their old movies pop up as if they were huge hits.
Why does anyone like this? I'm desperately trying to understand, because Ebert loved this. He thought it was great. I don't know. I don't know what he saw. There's all these random scenes. Like, you learn a lot about insurance and this is a real thing, and it's a character touch because baseball players, even into the early 70s, made so little money that they actually had outside jobs. That's true.
I know.
So Michael Moriarty's character sells insurance on the side, I think, or am I missing something? Did I miss that that's a joke?
I don't know that. No, you learn a lot about insurance in this movie.
You do.
That line is just very funny. That's why I'm laughing.
You do learn a lot about insurance for some reason, because he's an insurance salesman. I mean,
all I can think of is that I Am Sam hadn't come out yet. And maybe that's why. I mean, not that he's, has Down syndrome or anything like that, but it definitely is, I mean, it's Rain Man level of, it's that kind of over the top acting. I mean, again, and
They would be accused of really going all in on autism. If this movie was made today, they'd be like, why are you portraying an autistic baseball player this way? Like, that's the level of what they're going for how, how the character is played. Not that autism people are stupid, they're not. I'm saying that this character, the way it's played, is played on the scale in that way.
Right. And
it's really awful. It's so bad. And
well, then you throw in the fact that Brian's song came out 2 years before this.
Which is an infinitely better version of the same idea, yes.
Yeah, that's a true story. On top of it, I don't know if this is it. I'm assuming it's not.
I don't think so.
Which then does baffle me why Ebert would like it. It's not like it's the only movie that's ever been made like this, and then we just, we've gotten to grow up with all these other movies that exist that are better, but also have not aged well.
I try and there's this card game in the movie that takes up 25 minutes of screen time where it's just baseball players pranking fans into giving them money, I guess is the thing. It's a card game with no rules, and we make up the rules as we go. And isn't this hilarious, all this business we're doing with cards and making up things, and aren't we hilarious? No, this is boring. Get to the fucking story, please.
Right. And then, like you said, with the coach, just totally unnecessary scenes of him trying to figure out what
take up the doing. First half of the movie. It's just that whole trying to come up with a bullshit story to keep Vincent Gardenia from finding out what everybody's going to find out eventually anyway.
Yeah, to me, it was more of just a throwaway movie that never needs to be talked about again, but if you want to hate it, let's go ahead. Again,
I hate it.
You picked a bad week to watch this one.
I got my vaccine, second shot on Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday, I was in very bad shape. A lot of it was my own fault. I'm teaching myself how to cook, and I live alone. And so the only food that I have in the house is food that takes effort to prepare. You have to read a recipe and do all the stuff the preparation. Well, I couldn't stand up for more than a couple minutes at a time. So I'm not about to be able to make food. At one point for about 3 hours, every muscle in my body wouldn't stop twitching. That was 3 hours of my day, one day. So exhaustion on top of that. So I had no food in the house, so I was starving on top of being delirious, and so that made it infinitely worse. So when I tell you that I was down and it was going through hell, I don't want everybody to think that, well, I'm not getting vaccinated if that's what I got to go through. That's not everybody's experience. It was my experience, and also compounded by my mistakes. Thankfully, I had people who brought me food, and eventually, but.
Yeah,
I also couldn't keep anything down other than Coca-Cola. So,
and if you don't want, I can cut this if you want. But you were trying to cut Coca-Cola going into that, so yeah. You throw the withdrawals in there with it. I'm assuming that might have helped. With some, I
remember that, when I was a little kid, when I would get very ill, in the stomach, my grandmother would give me Coke, and I'm like, well, I can't get anything else to go down. I'll try Coke. I just got to get Coke. I gotta get calories in me somehow, just get something. And so I drank a 12-pack of Coke, and it was the only thing that felt good for 2 days.
Yeah. You need to get the endorphins going, or whatever it is that you're, when I had the vaccine, I did not have a little bit of pain, but I was fine. So go get your vaccine. We want to get back to normal. Want to go to theaters. Don't hug me. You'll never know what I'll do.
Right for the ass. He just goes right for the ass.
Male or female, doesn't matter.
Right for the ass. I want to do it the Pacino way. Even though this is a De Niro movie.
At least I have a built-in excuse if I do it. I'm so sorry. I'm just so used to hugging my wife. Not gonna do that. Anybody don't.
She's got a great ass. That was direct Pacino quote,
Heat.
not me saying that your wife has a great ass.
Either way, it works. I don't know. Steven Seagal out for justice.
Oh yeah, Seagal. This is, it's a Seagal movie. I'd rather watch Hollow Point.
I was gonna say it's no Hollow Point.
It's no Hollow Point. I don't remember the story of this one.
I don't remember any other than like Under Siege. That seems to be like the only Seagal movie that kind of stands out above the other ones. Maybe above the
weird.
law.
My memory of Seagal, and this could be just because I was too young to know about theatrical releases at the time, but I thought he was a direct-to-video guy until Under Siege, and then Under Siege was like a big theatrical hit.
Right. But it seems like he was direct-to-video.
We're also in the Midwest, so who knows? Maybe they just didn't put Seagal in theaters in the Midwest. I don't know.
Yeah, I know the covers of all of these because they'd pop up every year.
Yeah.
But
it was an entirely like a blockbuster discovery to me because there was no, I didn't notice Out for Justice at the movie theater when I was going to see, Drop Dead Fred, which I did see in the theaters.
I thought that was straight to video myself. I guess by the time I was old enough to see like Above the Law, it was probably on Showtime or HBO or something. Mm-hmm. But Under Siege is the only one I really is the only Seagal movie that stands above the other ones as far as I can remember.
I challenge anybody to tell me right now without looking, what's the difference between Above the Law and Out for Justice? What's the name of his character in each of those movies? I bet you can't. Nobody can do it. He couldn't do it. The director of the movie couldn't do it.
Yeah. Probably. They're not sequels? They might as well be. The titles are close enough, and he looks the same as he does. I mean, he's Chuck Norris, he's Van Damme, only he's the worst version of the two of them. Not quite Michael Dudikoff or whatever, but right there.
It works until he opens his mouth, and then it goes away. It's like a great mystery as long as he's not talking. That you could look at that big chin and those eyes, and then the buffness. Like you could see early on, he's not buff anymore. He stopped being buff real quick in his career. You can just sense he's got a presence, undoubted presence, unquestionable presence. Then he opens his mouth, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ!
Right, and then time goes on. You hear stories about how big of a dick he is. That
definitely makes it harder to enjoy. Yeah.
Not that it was easy to enjoy to begin with. Notice he didn't pop up in the Expendable movies.
Yeah. And a bigger group of assholes you've never met in your life, and they still said, fuck that guy.
Pretty much. All right. The Object of Beauty, John Malkovich.
I totally forgot about this one. Okay. I didn't know. I thought there was only one movie in 91 this week.
Looks like Siskel and Ebert liked it.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I like Malkovich. I like Andy McDowell.
Yeah. This movie called Impromptu that came out. Never even heard of this one, but
I missed a lot this week.
And then
there was I tell you though, one of the things that happened to me was I couldn't, I thought, okay, I'm sick. I'm going to be down for 2 days probably. I'm getting the worst of what everybody else has gone through on after vaccine number 2. And I thought, okay, at the very least, I'm laid up. At least I can watch movies. And then my eyes started to hurt. My eyes started to hurt. I couldn't even have the TV on because my eyes hurt too much.
Yeah, no, if you had a headache at all, which I'm assuming that was part of it, that makes it hard too. No, I understand. I've a handful of people I know have had, it's normal vaccine stuff. It hits everybody differently.
I'm not trying to scare anybody. And like I said, I compounded the misery of mine with other aspects.
And then Daddy Nostalgia. I don't know what the fuck that is, but
Tavernier a good director. French.
But it's, like you said, French, so. let's see here. That is our show. Next week, I don't have much to go off of right now. We got Ride or Die on Netflix. I don't know what that is, or even if we'll watch it. But other than that, all I have is Vanquished. And our classic's going to be Ichi the Killer. Yeah. 1991.
There's a documentary on craft beer, if you're interested, called Brewmance, which is a pretty good documentary. I've interviewed the director, and he's a really good guy, and I do recommend it. We could talk about that.
Let's do it.
Brewmance is what it's called.
Is it available to rent or Netflix or Amazon?
It is available to rent starting tomorrow.
Cool. 91, Drop Dead Fred, Mortal Thoughts, and One Man's War came out. So it is going to be a short week. I am interested in, this is our first time bringing Takashi Miike to the podcast, so we'll see.
Bit of a blind spot for me, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
If you hate it, we should still at some point try to bring Audition in. Just because that's the one that everybody talks about. But I mean, if nothing else, it's fucked up, so we can enjoy the fuck.
Let's do both then. They'll both be a classic. really throw me in.
You'll have to let me know what kind of mood you're in this week. All right, let's find Flickchart real quick before we go home. Here's my Facebook page, everybody on YouTube, and Home Alone or The Wolfman, 2010.
Home Alone.
Agreed. Look Who's Talking to, The Omen.
The Omen.
Agreed. Heat, Bruce Almighty. I heard you quoting Al Pacino.
Bruce Almighty for me. I'd rather watch that.
Fuck you, man.
I don't like Heat.
I understand it's not a great movie, but it's fun. Thank you, George.
Long.
George agrees with me, but it's like fun long. Speaking of fun long, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button or The Hangover?
The Hangover.
I agree. Inside Out, Ice Age 2, The Meltdown.
Inside Out.
Correct. The Royal Tenenbaums, Role Models.
I want to preface this by saying I love Role Models. Role Models is hilarious. It's got a lot of great stuff. Royal Tenenbaums is the choice.
Couldn't agree more. On both movies, I love Royal Tenenbaums and I love Role Models. But one's a work of art, one's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Jaws.
Jaws. Very easy.
Yes.
Very easy pick.
Incredibles 2, Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, although I'm glad we're not revisiting too many of those movies.
Yeah.
Old School was not that it was bad watching Old School, it was just kind of like
it was a little sad. It was a little sad. There's actually there's like a great video meme going around of that very experience, which is very funny. I'll share it on the Facebook page and Twitter, and you'll see it's basically just that idea of guy like really excited to show people a movie that he loved in 2004 and then continuously apologizing for it throughout.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
About Schmidt, Rain Man.
About Schmidt by a lot.
Yet a few years ago, I'd have said Rain Man until it turned 30.
So this show ruined it.
And I mean, it hasn't ruined it as much as you want it to ruin it, but it definitely, I mean, Dustin Hoffman really has done a lot to ruin it. And not even the bad stuff on the side. It's just,
no, it's just, you just see how shitty he is. The older you get, you see how shitty he is as an actor.
Right. And it's like we made the joke about, we didn't make the joke, but when I brought with the Woody Allen thing, when we said all his characters are kind of like what he's being accused of, and then we talk about Marilyn Manson, and you kind of see it in Dustin Hoffman, the way he talks to people in his movies. It seems like what he's being accused of was very similar to that kind of behavior, and it just, the behavior, I don't know, I just don't like the way he presents himself. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah. But he's also kind of a volume actor, more acting as opposed to actual acting.
Which is what Nicholson did in About Schmidt. The Greatest Showman. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
They're both garbage. Greatest Showman.
I'm gonna flip it. I pronounce you Chuck and Larry, but I hate Greatest Showman.
I hate Greatest Showman too, but I hate them both. So,
but Greatest Showman won. Hangover Part 2, 101 Dalmatians.
Hangover Part 2.
That's fine. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Scorpion King.
Ace Ventura.
Okay. Splash, If I Were King.
I've not seen If I Were King.
Neither have I. Splash or Short Circuit.
Not to get off on too much of a tangent, but you probably haven't. The Disney edit of Splash to cover up Daryl Hannah's nudity. They've CGI'd her hair to her butt.
You told me about that, and Al Pacino would not be happy with that.
Why? Because she's got a great ass.
Or a bare ass, either way.
Short Circuit for me. I love Splash. Splash.
The edited or unedited version of Splash.
Wait, not Short Circuit. What am I thinking? I hate Short Circuit. What am I
was going to say, I don't like Short Circuit. So
I don't remember liking Short Circuit.
So we're going with Splash?
Yeah.
All right. What's about the flip? Chicken Little or Cabin Fever?
Chicken Little.
Oh, fuck you. Cabin Fever.
Fuck Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever was fine.
Cabin Fever's trash.
Indie movie that... What is that, heads or a tails? I can't fucking tell. It's a goose. Must be a tail. Cabin Fever wins the coin flip. Get Shorty or Wild Hogs?
Good John Travolta versus awful John Travolta. Get Shorty.
It's All-Star Cast versus All-Star Cast. Hitch or March of the Penguins?
March of the Penguins is great. I'm never going to see it again. I might stop on TBS and watch 5 or 10 minutes of Hitch.
I agree.
They play it 10 times a day, or they did for a while.
Wild Things or Rambo First Blood Part 2?
Wild Things. For Kevin Bacon's dick.
I mean, that's definitely a plus on the Wild Things side. But revisiting First Blood Part 2 was so much fun, and I know you missed out on that.
Yeah.
That was... that's one of my favorite action movies of all time now because of how much fun and goofy that was. But Kevin's Bacon Dick wins. Sorry, you just took a drink. That wasn't meant to. Vanilla Sky or Frenzy?
I'm not sure I've seen Frenzy. I'm on the list of to see, but
I feel like
because it's Hitchcock.
I feel like all the Hitchcock movies not on the list or not on the list or that are on the list you haven't seen or on the list that you haven't seen for a reason. Midnight in Paris, Vanilla Sky.
Love both of these movies. Love them both. But Midnight in Paris was my number one movie of 2011, and I'm sticking with it even despite Woody.
I hate Vanilla Sky, so I'll just go with you. It's not a movie. Alien versus Predator. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'd rather suffer that than Alien v Predator.
Yeah, Scream Light. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Herbie Fully Loaded.
I'm voting for Dokken.
I'll go with you then. Is it sad though that that's literally the only thing I could get out of Thunder Force is the fact that hey, there's bands I like in this. Not that you like Dokken. I'm not trying to accuse you of that.
No.
But
I love Dream Warriors. I love Dream Warriors. Good. The song.
George Lynch is a fucking god.
He is truly.
Fright Night, 1985, or 3 Men and a Baby.
I don't care. Fright Night, whatever.
I guess I don't care either. I probably would have gone 3 Men and a Baby, but I don't feel like flipping. Vice or Rocky 4?
Rocky IV. Vice was a big disappointment.
Yeah. First Blood or The Sting?
Fuck you. God damn it. Fucking First Blood.
You didn't hate First Blood as much as you thought you heard it first. But I know it's an overrated movie. It wants to
be. Every Rambo movie has brought that original one down exponentially.
It is sad how bad the newest one is. Like,
it's so bad.
Like, it makes Bang the Drum Slowly look like an Oscar winner.
Man.
I mean, literally every movie we've talked about today is better than the new Rambo. Tell me you would not watch Thunder Force 5 times.
I would watch Thunder Force before I watched the new Rambo.
Like, you'd watch it 5 times back to back before you'd watch the new Rambo.
It's true.
Even the first half hour of Rambo.
I'll watch Bang the Drum Slowly before I ever watch the new Rambo again.
I'll do this week all over again. even if you throw out Giants being slowly being lonely. Slowly. What the fuck? That was so bad. 8mm Serenity. Great movie. Oh, fine. Princess Diaries, Freaky Friday, 2003.
Princess Diaries.
I don't know either one, really. Imitation Game, Tremors.
Mediocre versus equally mediocre. I don't know. I get to see Keira Knightley in Imitation Game, so.
Kevin Bacon.
Doesn't show his dick.